Today, I'm going to be looking at the latest statistics for the Toronto area's housing market for the month of February. How are things shaping up? Sales are soft. What's going on? We're going to talk about all of that today. My name is John Pasalis. My team and I help buyers and sellers throughout the Toronto area make smarter real estate decisions. If you'd like to meet with me and my team, you just click the link in the show notes below or shoot me an email at askjohn@movesmartly.com. So as always, the monthly stats are out. I'm going to unpack some of the latest trends. We're going to look at the trends for houses specifically. We're going to look at the trends for condominiums. And I'm going to look at the stats for the rental market, the condo rental market specifically. But I thought I'd kick off this month's stats by looking at what I think are kind of the three key trends in the data. For those of you who are in a rush and kind of want sort of a quick overview of the statistics that stood out before we kind of go into the details of each metric. So the first thing that kind of jumped out is that sales are down over 25% year over year. It's closer to 29%, I believe, for low-rise homes. And I think this really is the Trump effect that is going on. Earlier this month, I published a video where I talk about the one big negative side effect of Trump and the tariffs is not even so much how it might impact our economy, but it is the lack of predictability, this uncertainty, not knowing what the U.S. administration is going to do next. And that's not good for the economy. It's not good for businesses. It's not good for households when you don't know what's around the corner, what negative shocks are on the corner, and of course, for some people, how that might impact their jobs in the future. So we've seen a pretty significant decline in sales. Again, this is 25% down plus year over year over last February, and last February was already a pretty weak year. So sales are quite cool. They're at pretty much 20-year lows for this year. Now, when we look at active listings, they're up over 50% compared to last year. And this big growth in listings is not even so much that sellers are rushing to sell. Once we look at the data, you'll see, I mean, new listings are up slightly over year. They're pretty typical for low rise, above average for condos. But it's the combination of having, typical listings volumes and pretty much a 20-year low in sales that is allowing inventory and active listings to build up. And that's the environment we're seeing in. So we're seeing a lot more for sale signs, fewer sold signs. And again, a lot of this is driven by the very, very soft sales volumes. Now, when we look at these statistics, there are, of course, regional differences. Toronto market and Durham are a little bit busier, a little bit more competitive. Things are moving a little bit more quickly. Halton Peel a little bit slower when we're looking at low rise. And of course, when we look at condominiums, condos are a lot slower than houses. So when we talk about these statistics, it's important to keep it with a grain of salt that it's not the same trends everywhere. These are sort of aggregate statistics. Different neighborhoods, different regions or municipalities are doing slightly different things. So it's important to keep that in mind when looking at the data. Now, we're going to take a look at the market statistics for houses. So this is all low-rise homes, semis, detached townhouses in the Greater Toronto area. And we can see sales are down 29% year over year, just over 2,400 homes sold. Very, very soft volume, probably close to a 20-year low. I mean, the past couple of years have been pretty much 20-year lows in sales volumes. And we're at that pace right now and probably going to be softer than last year. I think most people I speak with in the industry are thinking sales are going to be probably even worse than last year. And again, I think partly due to the uncertainty, partly due to economic conditions and all of these factors. So we're well below last year. We're going to see how this obviously all plays out in March and April, but we're off to a pretty sluggish starts to the year. When we look at new listings, they're up 13% year over year, so just over 7,000. And again, this is quite typical for low-rise homes. I mean, this isn't out of the ordinary. We typically see around this number of listing volume, but active listings are significantly higher than we're used to seeing. Over 10,000 listings, homes available for sale at the end of the month, 62% increase over last year. And again, I think this is really driven by the fact that, you know, we have, again, soft sales volumes, normal listings volumes, and inventory is gradually building up. Now, when we look at the months of inventory, so that looks at the total number of homes for sale divided by the number of homes that actually sold, gives us an idea of how long it would take the market to clear if nothing else hit the market. We're at 4.4 months of inventory. The higher the months of inventory, the slower the market. The lower the months of inventory, the more competitive the market. So we're moving towards a pretty soft market. We'll see how things play out, but yeah, definitely big spike in months of inventory the past couple months. And again, I suspect we're going to see things in this level as we move into the spring market, a pretty soft trend. Now, one interesting trend is that number of homes selling for over list price is up to 38%. It was closer to about 24, 25%. Can't remember last month. And again, there are regional differences. It's actually higher in Toronto and Durham. It's a lot lower in Peel and Halton. York's kind of in the middle. But what's going on here? What are these trends? I mean, listen, I think this is something that people need to take with a slight grain of salt. I mean, I see some agents on, Instagram talking about how the market's booming because this house got 15 offers on their offer night. Don't listen to the gloom and moon. The market's on fire. It's super busy, super competitive. All of these narratives. I mean, these are ridiculous narratives. The market's not on fire. Listen, the nicest homes that are listed in any given week, if they're priced 400,000 below their worth, of course they're going to get multiple offers and they're going to sell for way over asking. It does not mean we're in a competitive market. So definitely we're seeing more agents list low. It doesn't necessarily mean homes are selling for crazy prices. Many of the homes that we see and are selling and our clients are involved in, even if they have multiple offers, they're not selling for crazy prices. They're selling for market value. And the ones that get multiple offers tend to be the nicest homes in any given week. At the end of the day, this is a reflection of the homes that have sold for the month of February. Of course, a lot didn't sell. We have a buildup of inventory. We have over 10,000 homes available for sale that haven't sold yet. So again, take this with a grain of salt. The market, even though some homes are getting tons of offers and some are selling way over asking, it doesn't mean the market is back to where we were in 2021 or early 2022. It's still generally pretty soft. So be cautious when you're hearing Instagram stories or TikTok stories about the market booming just because one home got multiple offers. So, or a bunch of homes even. When we look at average sale price for low-rise homes is down 1%, just over 1.3 million. But median sale price, and the difference is, of course, average just takes the average of all homes. Median sort of takes that, that middle point. It tries to exclude sort of the influence of, for example, a lot of luxury home selling. Median prices are down like 4% year over year. So we're going to keep an eye on how these differences evolve between the average and the median. Because the average could only be down 1%, for example, if slightly more higher end homes sold. But again, the median isn't influenced by that as much. So we'll keep an eye on how that evolves. But average is down 1%, median's down 4% for low-rise houses year over year. Now, when we look at the condo statistics, again, average price is down 25% year over year. So soft sales volumes, just over 1,500 properties for sale. New listings are up 14% year over year, but the interesting trend for condos is actually new listings are below where they were last month. I don't have an explanation for that. Is this maybe just because sellers hit pause with these crazy snowstorms we had in Toronto? I suspect that's a very big part of it. People were not driving. If you were considering listing, you probably thought, let's hit pause. No one's moving around. No one can see it anyways. But we'll see how this shapes up. But it's not a typical trend to see new listings trend down between January and February. So we'll see how that shapes up next month. But active listings is up 50%, just under 10,000. Again, relatively high volume of condominiums for sale right now. historic highs for the month of February, 6.4 months of inventory. So again, we're kind of reaching these highs that we saw the end of last year, and we'll see if that keeps inching up. The condos aren't really selling very much over asking. The nicest ones, of course, are. Average condo prices down 2% year over year to 710. But again, median prices for condos are also down 4%. So we're seeing slight differences between the median and the average. So we'll see what that looks like over the next month or so. The market stats for condominium rentals. Leases were up 13% year over year. So this is the total number of condos that were leased in the month of February. When we look at the number of rental listings, this dipped, or this is actually up 7% year over year. It's down from last month, but up 7% year over year. And then when we look at the active number of rental listings, it's up 14%. 9,800 or so, just under 10,000 condominiums available for rent. So relatively high volume of condos. I mean, you can kind of see in this chart, it's the highest volume or number of condos for lease in any month over the past 4 years or 3 years. So relatively high number of units available for lease. And this has been putting downward pressure on condo rents. Condo rents are down 4% year over year. To just over 2,600, but we're down actually 12% from the peak a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago. So the condo market's relatively soft. Yes, places are renting, things are moving, but tenants have a ton of options now. We're seeing more incentives, like 1 month free rent, things like that. So it's a very soft condo market for rentals. I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below or shoot me an email at askjohn@movesmartly.com.